The night my father died, my stepmother smiled. Not openly, not the kind of smile people would notice, but I saw it because I was standing right beside her when the doctor came out and said, "I'm sorry, we lost him." Everyone screamed, everyone cried, but my stepmother Ngozi only covered her mouth like she was shocked. Yet her eyes looked relieved. And that was the moment my heart began to shake. Because my father was not sick. He was strong, he was fine the day before. So how did he suddenly die overnight? The next morning, the village came to mourn. Women filled the compound crying and singing funeral songs. But something strange happened. While people were crying, my stepmother was already discussing my father's land with my uncle. I heard her clearly. "The land behind the river, make sure it enters my name quickly." My uncle hesitated. "But Adeze is his first child." My stepmother turned sharply. "She is not his wife," she snapped, "and she is not a son." My stomach tightened. I stood behind the wall, listening. My hands were shaking. So this was it. My father wasn't even buried yet, and she was already dividing his property. That evening, I went into my father's room. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted to smell his clothes one last time. Maybe I just wanted to feel like he was still there. But as I was searching through his things, I noticed something strange. A small wooden box under his bed. I had never seen it before. It was locked, but the lock was weak, so I forced it open. Inside was a brown envelope. My heart began to beat faster, because written on it were 3 words: "If I die." My throat went dry. I opened the envelope with trembling hands, and what I saw inside almost made me scream. It was a picture, an old picture. My father and my stepmother. But they weren't smiling. They were standing beside a grave. And written at the back of the picture was a name: Amaka. I didn't know who Amaka was, but what shook me was the second thing inside the envelope. A letter. My father's handwriting. I read it slowly, and my whole body went cold. It said, "Adeze, if anything happens to me, do not trust Ngozi. She is not who she claims to be. She has killed before, and she will kill again." My heart stopped. Killed before? Killed who? Before I could even process what I read, I heard footsteps outside the room. Heavy, slow, coming closer. My blood ran cold. I quickly hid the envelope behind my back. The door opened, and my stepmother stood there, staring at me. Her eyes moved from my face to the box, then back to my face. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled, that same cold smile. "You know," she said quietly, "your father used to hide many things from me." She leaned toward my ear. "And I don't like secrets." My whole body trembled, because in that moment, I realized something. She knew. She knew I had found something. She gently touched my hair and whispered, "Be a good girl, Adeze." A pause. "Or you will join your father." My eyes widened in horror, and she walked out like nothing happened, leaving me standing there shaking. Because now I knew. My father didn't die naturally, and my stepmother's secret was darker than anything I could imagine. What happened next, Ngozi never saw it coming. That night, I couldn't sleep. My stepmother's words kept repeating in my head. "Be a good girl, or you will join your father." I lay awake, listening to every sound in the compound. Because now I knew something. If my father truly wrote that letter, then Ngozi didn't just want his property. She wanted to silence me. Before dawn, I hid the envelope inside my wrapper and quietly left the house. I went straight to the only person I trusted, Mama Nena, my father's elder sister, the woman who never liked Ngozi. When she opened her door and saw my face, she frowned. "Adaize, what is it?" I whispered. "My father didn't die naturally." Her eyes widened. She pulled me inside quickly and locked the door. I brought out the envelope and gave it to her. The moment she saw my father's handwriting, her hands began to shake. She read the letter slowly. Halfway through, her mouth opened in shock. When she finished, she looked at me with fear. "Your father tried to warn you," she whispered. My voice trembled. "So it's true, she has killed before?" Mama Nena didn't answer immediately. Instead, she opened a wooden box and brought out an old photograph. It was the same one I found. My father, Ngozi, a grave, and the name at the back, Amaka. Mama Nena sighed deeply. "Amaka was your father's first wife." My eyes widened. "What?" "She died suddenly," Mama Nena continued. "Poison." My body went cold. "You mean Ngozi killed her?" Mama Nena nodded. "Yes." I covered my mouth. "But why didn't anyone arrest her?" Mama Nena's voice turned bitter. "Because there was no proof. and your father was already in love with her. Then Mama Nena leaned closer and whispered something that shook me. Ngozi didn't marry your father for love. My heart pounded. Then why? She married him because your father was hiding money. Plenty money. I froze. But we are not rich. Mama Nena shook her head. He hid it from everyone. Then she whispered, and Ngozi found out. Suddenly, footsteps approached the door. Slow, careful. Mama Nena's eyes widened. We both froze. Then a voice called softly from outside. Mama Nena. My blood ran cold. It was Ngozi. Mama Nena grabbed my hand. Hide, she whispered. I rushed behind the curtain in the inner room, shaking. The door opened. Ngozi stepped in calmly. Her voice sounded sweet, but her eyes were sharp. Auntie, good morning. Mama Nena forced a smile. Good morning. Ngozi stepped closer. Yesterday, she said softly, Adaize entered her father's room. My heart almost stopped. She was looking for something, Ngozi continued. And I know you and her are close. Then her smile faded. So tell me, her voice turned cold. What did she find? Mama Nena answered firmly. She found nothing. Ngozi stared at her for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. She turned to leave, but before stepping out, she paused and whispered, If you are hiding her in this house, a pause, I will burn this house down with both of you inside. Then she walked away. Behind the curtain, my whole body trembled. Mama Nena rushed in and pulled me up. Her face was pale. She knows you are here, she whispered. My lips shook. What do we do? Mama Nena's eyes hardened. We expose her. But deep down, I knew something. Ngozi wasn't just threatening us. She was already planning her next move. That same night, Mama Nena didn't allow me to sleep. She locked all the doors, blocked the windows, and kept a cutlass beside her bed. Her voice was low. Ngozi is not the type to threaten and walk away. If she said fire, she meant fire. My body was still shaking. Auntie, what do we do? Mama Nena looked at me. We need proof. The next morning, we went to my father's compound like nothing happened. People were still mourning. Women were crying. Men were drinking palm wine. But Ngozi, she was already smiling and receiving visitors like a queen. When she saw me, her eyes narrowed, but she forced a fake smile. Adaize, my daughter, you finally came out. I greeted her quietly, but my stomach turned because as she spoke, her eyes were searching me, like she was checking if I still had that letter. Later that afternoon, Mama Nena pulled me aside. We will enter your father's room tonight, she whispered. There's something else he must have hidden. I nodded, because deep inside, I knew it too. That letter couldn't be the only thing. That night, when everyone slept, we quietly entered my father's room. The air still smelled like him. Mama Nena searched under the bed, inside the wardrobe, behind the curtains. Nothing. Then she touched the wall near the bed, and suddenly, knock, knock. The sound was hollow. She froze. This wall is not solid, she whispered. My heart began to pound. We pushed the wooden shelf aside, and there it was. A small hidden door. Mama Nena forced it open. Inside was a black nylon bag. She opened it slowly and gasped. Bundles of money. Plenty money. My eyes widened. My father was rich, rich beyond what the village knew. But that wasn't the worst part. Inside the bag was also a brown file. Mama Nena opened it and her face changed. What is it? I asked. Her voice shook. This is a land document. She paused. Your father didn't just own land here. He owned land in the city. I covered my mouth. Then she flipped the next page and froze. Because there was another document, a police report with a picture. The picture was Ngozi, and written boldly on the report was, Wanted for the death of Amaka Okafor. My legs almost gave way. So it was true. Ngozi was not just wicked, she was a fugitive. Suddenly, we heard a slow clap behind us. Clap, clap, clap. Our blood turned cold. We turned sharply. Ngozi was standing at the door, smiling, holding a lantern. So, she said softly, you found it. Mama Nena quickly stood in front of me. Ngozi, stay back. Ngozi laughed quietly. You think this old woman can save you? She stepped closer. Her voice became cold. Your father was a foolish man. She paused. He wanted to expose me. My heart was pounding. So, I exposed him first. Mama Nena gasped. You killed him. Ngozi smiled. Yes. Then Ngozi reached into her wrapper and pulled out a small bottle. "Do you know what this is?" she asked. My eyes widened. "Poison. The same way she killed Amaka. The same way she killed my father." She stepped closer. "One sip, and both of you would join them." But suddenly, a voice came from outside. "Drop it, Ngozi." Ngozi froze. We turned, and standing there was Officer Danjuma, a police officer from the city, with 2 armed men behind him. Ngozi's face twisted in anger. "You," she hissed. The officer stepped forward. "We've been looking for you for years." Ngozi laughed quietly. "You think you can arrest me here?" Then she did something nobody expected. She grabbed me violently and pulled me close, using me as his shield. "If you move," she shouted, "I'll kill her first." My whole body trembled. Mama Nena screamed, "Adaize!" Officer Danjuma aimed his gun carefully. "Ngozi, let her go." Ngozi's eyes were wild. "I will never go back to prison." Then I remembered something. The bottle in her hand. I quickly grabbed it and smashed it against her wrist. She screamed. The poison spilled to the ground. Ngozi loosened her grip, and in that moment, Officer Danjuma fired. Bang! Ngozi froze. Her eyes widened. She staggered back, then fell. The room went silent. Mama Nena rushed to hold me. I was shaking, crying, breathing hard. Officer Danjuma stepped forward and looked at Ngozi's body. Then he turned to us. "You saved yourself," he said. I stared at the hidden file, the money, the police report, and I finally understood everything. My father didn't die naturally. He was murdered, and Ngozi's secret had destroyed lives for years. As the officers carried her body away, Mama Nena whispered, "It's over." But deep down, I knew something. Ngozi didn't come to the village alone, and if she had people, then this nightmare might not truly be finished. The compound was filled with noise the next morning. Ngozi's death spread through the village like wildfire. People gathered in groups, whispering. Some were shocked, some were scared, but most of them kept saying the same thing. So Mama Nena was right all along. I sat quietly inside the room, still shaking, because even though Ngozi was gone, I didn't feel safe. Not yet. Officer Danjuma returned later that day. He came with 2 policemen and a serious face. "Adaize," he said, "we need to ask you some questions." Mama Nena stood beside me like a shield. Officer Danjuma opened the brown file we found and brought out a document. "This land your father owned in the city, it is worth millions." My heart skipped. "Millions?" He continued. "And this money you found, it's not just savings." I frowned. "What do you mean?" The officer looked around the room, then lowered his voice. "Your father was hiding evidence." Mama Nena's eyes widened. "Evidence of what?" Officer Danjuma sighed. "Ngozi was part of a criminal group. They poisoned rich men, take over their property, then disappear." My stomach turned. So, my father was not her first victim. He was only one of many. Then Officer Danjuma dropped another bomb. "The reason we found her here is because we were tracking her." I stared at him. "You mean you knew she was in this village?" He nodded, "But we needed proof." Mama Nena's face tightened. "So you waited until she killed my brother?" Officer Danjuma looked ashamed. "We tried, but she was smart, always moving." He paused. "Until your father reported her." My heart jumped. "My father reported her?" Officer Danjuma nodded. "Yes, 2 weeks before he died." I froze. "So, my father tried to save us." And that was why she killed him. Just then, one of the policemen rushed into the compound. "Oga," he shouted. Officer Danjuma stood up quickly. "What is it?" The policeman looked panicked. "We caught someone trying to break into the house." My heart dropped. "Break into the house?" Officer Danjuma rushed outside. Mama Nena and I followed, and there on the ground was a man. His face was bruised. The villagers had already surrounded him. He tried to struggle, but the police held him down. Officer Danjuma grabbed him by the shirt. "Who sent you?" The man refused to speak. Officer Danjuma slapped him hard. "Talk." The man finally spat on the ground and laughed. "You think killing Ngozi ends this?" he said. My blood ran cold. Officer Danjuma's voice became sharp. "Who are you?" The man looked at me, then smiled wickedly. "I'm her brother." The crowd gasped. Mama Nena staggered back. I froze. "Ngozi had a brother," I whispered. The man laughed again. "She promised us everything in this village. Land, money, power." He turned to the police. "She failed." Then his eyes returned to me. "So now we will take it ourselves." My heart began to pound. Officer Danjuma's eyes widened. "Meaning?" The man smiled. "Meaning Adaize is coming with us." Before anyone could react, he pulled something from his pocket, a small blade. He held it against his own throat. Everyone froze. "If you touch me," he shouted, "I'll kill myself and you'll never know where the rest of my people are hiding." Officer Danjuma paused. The villagers panicked, but Mama Nena suddenly stepped forward and shouted, "Shoot him!" Everyone turned. Mama Nena's eyes were red. "He wants to scare us. Don't let him."
The man hesitated, and that hesitation was enough. Officer Danjuma moved fast and kicked the blade out of his hand. The policemen grabbed him tightly. The man screamed and struggled, but it was too late. Officer Danjuma turned to me. Adaize, this is bigger than we thought. He faced his men. Search the village, now. The police began raiding houses, and within 2 hours, they found 3 more strangers hiding in an abandoned hut near the forest. Men with bags full of fake documents and bottles of poison. The villagers screamed. Some women fainted because it meant only one thing. Ngozi didn't come alone. She came with a whole plan, a whole gang. By evening, the criminals were handcuffed and lined up in the village square. Officer Danjuma faced the crowd. This woman you called your widow was a murderer. The villagers murmured in shame. Mama Nena held my hand tightly. I could feel her shaking too. As the police vehicle carried the criminals away, I stood in front of my father's grave. Tears finally fell from my eyes. Not just because of my father, but because I finally understood. The woman I called stepmother never came to love. She came to destroy. Mama Nena placed her hand on my shoulder. It's finished, she whispered. I nodded slowly. Yes. Then I looked up at the village, at the people who ignored my father's warning, at the elders who trusted a stranger, and I whispered the words that burned inside me. From today, nobody will ever take what belongs to my family again. And for the first time since my father died, I felt peace.